Can everyone please take your seats if you haven't already? Thank you. Can everyone please take your seats? Ladies and gentlemen, we're only 15 minutes behind schedule at this point. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the Uni High Century Celebration Gala. What an incredible gathering of people. It is such an honor to be here tonight to MC this event. This is the third time that I've MC'd a Uni High Gala, and I think the reason they brought me back is because after many years in broadcasting, I have to end on time. There is no choice. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeremy Hobson. I'm Uni High class of 1999. Since leaving uni, I've worked as a public radio journalist, as a producer, a reporter, and a host of Marketplace Morning Report and Here and Now. And I am actually in Champaign-Urbana for two reasons right now. One of them is to celebrate our connections to Uni High. And second is to launch my new show, The Middle, on Wednesday night. It is a new live national call-in show focused on Americans who live in between the East and West Coasts, who are crucial in our politics, but often ignored by the media. And I am happy to announce the show is going to air on almost 500 public radio stations around the country, and the first episode is going to come out of WILL right here in Champaign-Urbana. Now, did I decide to host the first show from Champaign-Urbana because it happened to be right around the time of the Uni High Gala? Perhaps I did. But in fairness, in all of my years at Uni High and in journalism, until tonight, I had never met one of our most famous alums, George Will, so how could I miss this? But in fact, I would never miss this for the world because, like each and every one of you here tonight, we all have a special connection to this school. It wasn't just a place that you spent time in for a number of years. It was a place that meant a lot to you. The things you learned, the people you met and still stay in touch with today. We had our class of 1999 reunion, our 20th year reunion just before the pandemic. Almost 2/3 of our class flew into town to be together. That doesn't just happen. It happened because of what the school means to all of us. And then I started thinking about the ways that I was shaped by my time at uni. I like to think of myself as a good person, someone who cares about people around me and the world around me, someone who cares about the environment, someone who loves to learn about a broad range of things. I love being around smart people. I assume the best from people around me. And I think uni contributed to every one of those qualities. Here we are in a bubble of smart people, many of them like me, children of professors, middle of the cornfields, on a world-class university campus, leaving our lockers open because we trust people around us that much. That is something that's very special and something that is, shall we say, unique. Now, speaking of the University of Illinois, as I said, a world-class institution. My father taught here for decades, still does, even in retirement. I started my college career at the U of I. But I want to say, with the interim provost in attendance here tonight, Uni High is one of the most prestigious parts of this university. There's no question about it. Not everything lasts for 100 years. Not Blockbuster Video or the Hugh House. It takes effort and care to keep a school going for all that time, especially when it sits on very valuable property that the engineering school would love to have. And by the way, it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be at your high school's 100th anniversary. But this is still a small school, which means it's going to take care and effort from all of us to lead High into its second century. Okay, let me give you a little preview of what is on tap tonight. We're going to hear from George Will in just a few minutes. After that, we're going to give you time to enjoy your dinner and converse with people at the tables. After dinner, we'll find out who won the prestigious Max Lieberman Award. We'll have some fun with the Uni High Alumni Association and see how good you are at Uni High trivia. And then we will lock the doors and start our 6-hour extended program. Before we get to George Will, though, allow me to introduce the leader of this institution, who we are so lucky to have, Uni High Director, Dr. Elizabeth Jeremy.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the Uni Gala and the Uni Century Celebration weekend. I have a speech for you tonight, and luckily my speech is under time because I'm going to be improvising a little bit here at the beginning. So I came up earlier to hand Jeremy this folder because I didn't want to turn one folder up to put in. I love orange; it's one of my favorite colors. And I was going to show him my speech is in here, and then I looked at my speech not in here. So I want to talk for a minute about why I'm so glad that that University High School is part of the University of Illinois, because I have my speech saved on Box. And so I'm hoping that I've just had Box open. So this might take a little bit because I really do want to share with you the speech that I wrote. But anyway, while Jeremy was speaking, I was on my phone, which I don't usually like to do. Now I just had it open. I have the Century Celebration folder. What'd you say? Okay, so talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to open my speech in a minute. I just wanted to give you a little more time to get to know each other and chat a little bit. Okay, so here I have it. Now I just have to tell you, thank you so much. Thank you to the University of Illinois. Box is a wonderful online storage system. Everything you need in the cloud at your fingertips, right on your phone if you need to. So I just want to tell you that to introduce myself a little bit for those of you who don't know me, I have been at uni this is my 24th year, and I'm an English teacher. That's my main thing. I love to talk about literature with students. I love to teach writing, and I love people. So I don't usually do speeches looking at my phone. Just want to make that totally clear. I would have a nice old school piece of paper here, 16-point font with pauses in the right places and everything. If things are going well, things are going well. Things are going great. A round of applause for the Century Celebration. Everything's going wonderfully. Let me just say, if things were going perfectly, but actually things don't always go perfectly, right? We didn't expect to have a COVID spike right before the Century Celebration. That threw some wrenches in our situation, but we're doing beautifully anyway with our supportive community, our amazing faculty and staff. Nobody was planning to have this pandemic. That's changed some things. So we've had to learn how to pivot. Janet and I wasn't going to share this with you tonight, but we've been saying our motto for this weekend is Uni High. We thrive on chaos. And so this is just another example. Okay, so now it's the speech. First of all, it says, mic check. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Also, it says, speak slowly. So I'm about to do that because I have a little more energy in my adrenaline right now than I would have if I had my paper. Did I mention that I love paper? Okay, here we go. Here's the actual speech. Okay, welcome everyone to the Uni Gala. We are so glad to have you all with us for our Century Celebration weekend. I'm Elizabeth Majuris, and it's my honor to have been part of Uni's 100-year tradition for more than 2 decades. For 20 years as a Uni English teacher, and for the past 3 years as director and principal. Uni is proud to be part of the University of Illinois with great resources like Fox, Cloud Storage System, and we are grateful for the Provost Office for its support and inspiration. We celebrate our history of innovative teaching and learning in a small, close-knit community of teachers and students who are passionate about inquiry and discovery, committed to academic excellence, and to making the world a better place. Throughout this weekend, as we celebrate Uni, we are highlighting select people, the 100 alumni from various classes throughout the year that make up our class of the century. The alums, staff, and supporters who are speaking at various events during the weekend. The faces and groups throughout Uni's history that are captured in our celebrations slideshows. But as we highlight all those individuals and groups, we are aware that that light truly shines on all of us. Everyone at Uni is important. Every faculty and staff member brings something irreplaceable to our school and impacts each student's experience. Even those teachers they may never take a class from, or that staff member they may interact with only here and there. In the 5 years that the students in a class are with us, we get to know each and every one of those students, as well as learning the character and quirks of the whole class. All of us make up the fabric of a community that is both invigorating and homey. A community whose strength is reflected in the fact that our teachers often come and stay for decades. And let me just thank you, yes. And let me just pause and say, this is no exaggeration. We often have teachers for 20, 30, even 40 years. Chris Butler is with us tonight. Absolutely. Chris Butler retired after a 43-year career at Uni. And we also have Rick Murphy with us tonight, who has been with us and still with us. This is his 41st year. That fabric is also made up with the relationships of our students, who tend to form many friendships that last a lifetime. And it's also reflected in the fact that we all keep coming back to visit and celebrate our beloved school. This strength is also reflected in its staying power, as we celebrate 100 years, or 101 years technically, since we kicked off the celebration off earlier, so we're glad we're together. As Jeremy observed, not everything lasts for 100 years. His observation reminded me of a striking moment when Irene and Reagan's donor story video, which many of us watched in late August when it landed. Irene noted that, quote, there were several times in the last 40 years when Uni's future and Uni's sustainability were in question for financial reasons, not for lack of interest. We almost didn't see it. I get a little choked up even just remembering it. I remember watching the video and it really struck me. It's true. I've heard these stories. And it's sobering to think about. But it's also inspiring because we did. Being resilience as a school and community is remarkable. We made it despite some significant challenges in our history. And we will make sure that Union continues to thrive for another 100 years. So yes, absolutely. We will make sure that Union survives for another 100 years by continuing to grow and learn from our successes and victories, as well as our limitations and failures, and by looking out for each other, prioritizing collaboration and investigation, and continuing to create opportunities. We look forward to continuing that work with all of you, the work of building on the strong foundation we already have for the next 100 years. So before I pass the mic, I want to shine a light on one of the aspects of Uni that makes it the incredible school it is, our faculty. Well, current and former faculty do things. And we recognize, let's give the faculty, past and present, a round of applause. And please stay standing. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for your commitment, your creativity, your passion, and your persistence. And I'd also like to have all the members of our staff who are not present, who's also stand and be recognized. Everybody who's here, past and present, please stand and be recognized. Absolutely, absolutely, yes. Thank you so much. Absolutely, thank you so much. Yes, our staff is incredible, and we could not do what we do without our staff. So our faculty and staff is amazing. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to continue to celebrate with you. I'm sorry my phone just dinged. Oh, wait, I also have another speech on my phone. So now you have to talk amongst yourselves again, so I can find my other speech. So have a moment, chat, enjoy. Okay, you have 30 seconds, then group time will end. Okay, I hope all the groups chose a representative to share out whatever you were discussing just now. Get this, I'm making a teacher grade. I'm the teacher, you were in groups, now the group representative. It was a spontaneous thing, I'm sorry, it didn't work out. We'll just move on. Okay, so moving on. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce Bill Bernhardt, the interim vice chancellor for academic affairs and provost at the University of Illinois. Dr. Bernhardt has completely shoes to fill in stepping in with a generous and visionary provost, Andreas Candelaris, the father of 2 union alums and a warm supporter of our school. Dr. Bernhardt has filled those shoes well, proving to be a responsive, approachable, and engaged provost, and one who is aware of and attentive to the concerns of the union. We are very honored to have him with us tonight. Dr. Bernhardt holds a BA in government from Cornell University and an MA and PhD in political science from Duke University. He is an award-winning scholar. His most recent book, Legislative Style, investigates how members of Congress allocate their time and efforts, particularly how parties manage candidate nominations and immigration-related foreign policy choices. Prior to being named interim vice chancellor for academic affairs and provost, Dr. Bernhardt is the executive vice provost for academic affairs. Join me warmly in welcoming Bill Bernhardt.
First, yeah, that's right. But I like it. So I'm really delighted that you're, that so many members of our community celebrate. Those iconic status of high school, go Five Center, physical presence of the building itself. The students are here, not just the artifacts, but the arts that are really powerful. Vitality, our success in recruiting best practices in the world comes from showing them the opportunity. Ties to reputation, not just welcome reflection. Powerful contributors must access to the best part there's no denying that equity, perfectly harmonized foundational frameworks, actions, and influence generation. Very exciting book. Charts of course. She is working faculty, staff, focus, mission, most excellent practice possible. Next 100 years, right? Very excited to see what happens. Thank you again for inviting us tonight. More important, support. Thank you, Provost Bernhardt. And it is now my honor to introduce one of our most distinguished graduates, George F. Wills, newspaper. Washington Post since 1974. Today, it appears twice weekly in more than 300 newspapers. In 1976, he became a regular contributing editor of Newsweek. In 1977, he won a Pulitzer Prize for commentary. 16 books. He was a founding panel member of ABC's Newsweek. He spent over 3 decades providing regular commentary there, over 3 years with Fox News and 4 years with NBC. And we're proud to say he was marketing as the last of 1958. Ladies and gentlemen, George Will. Thank you. This not call, but Groucho said that he would not want to be a member of the club that had standards for relative.
Usually when I I know whether I'm being useful. Baseball champion. All my friends. And who I'm cheerful. Our color is to say it's flat, but it, durability of an institution as opposed to a building is all the more remarkable. Particularly when you think back when we were close, our school, to the engineering department, and we all saw those guys riding along on their bikes in the 50s, 60s, and 70s with something on their belts called a slide rule. Well, the slide rule was going to be obviated by a uni-high parent. Bill Bardeen was in my class, and his father, James, was at the Bell Lab, where he and two other people were inventing something that became the marvel of the 1950s, akin to the internet in our time, a transistor radio. And from the transistor radio and the silicon engineering came the modern age. And it all began with the class of 58 because a class of 58's father was involved. Well, to be in Central Illinois is to be reminded of history. I was captain of the cross-country team. I mean, I was a spectacularly bad athlete, but I was captain because absolutely no one else was foolish enough to take the job. And we'd go out. Most cross-country, you run hills and dales and all that. Well, there are no hills and dales in Champaign County. So we'd go out and we'd run around one of those Jeffersonian squares that he laid out from the Northwest Ordinance. According to local lore, and as we say in journalism, this is a story too good to check. Abraham Lincoln was in the Champaign County Courthouse, that great pile over there on the square in Urbana made of Indiana sandstone, when in 1854 he heard that Illinois Senator Stephen A. Douglas had passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Kansas-Nebraska Act was Douglas's way of solving the vexing question that would eventually blow the country up. What do you do about the status of slaves in the territory? Should they be allowed to go there or not? And Douglas's answer was popular sovereignty. We shall vote it up, vote it down. He said, it's a matter of indifference to me what you do. What's important is that majorities rule. Well, Lincoln, a very prosperous traveling railroad lawyer, said no. His recoil from that was his ascent to greatness. When he said, America is not about a process majority rule, it's about a condition liberty. And he drew the line, and directly from the Kansas-Nebraska Act to the Civil War, a great affirmation of principle occurred here, not far from Champaign County. We're all enmeshed in American history in that sense because we are the children of the Morrill Act. In 1862, arguably the worst year in American history, Shiloh, Antietam, to this day, the bloodiest day in American history, Fredericksburg in December 62, hideous year. In spite of that, and in the midst of the carnage, the Congress, which in that day legislated, it's amazing, they passed the Homestead Act and, more important, the Morrill Act, which set up the land-grant colleges, one of which is the University of Illinois, from which we have all benefited. What strikes me about the century that Uni High has been a participant in is the velocity of change and the astonishing improvement of American life that has resulted from this. You know, there's a sense, I mentioned James Bardeen and silicon and the microprocessors and all the rest. There's a sense in which the great change in our time began when a trucker in North Carolina named Norman McLean took $150 that he'd earned pumping gas and bought a truck. 1934. By 1955, he was on the way to becoming the 5th largest trucking company in the country. And he was exasperated by the inefficiency. And he invented something that has done almost as much as the microchip to build a modern world. It's a steel container about 8 feet high and about 30 feet long. It's the shipping container, just a steel rectangular thing. And that gave us globalization, and that gave us efficiency. Hitherto, relying on stevedores to unload them, ships had spent more time in ports than they did on the high seas. Thanks to Norman McLean, it cost 1/20th as much to unload a ship, and it was 20 times faster. And globalization was on the way. It's odd how these small changes in the world can result in enormous changes in the world. In 1941, the year I was born, almost half the world lived on what the World Bank calls subsistence poverty. That is $2 a day. 40% when I was born. Today it's 9% and falling rapidly again because of trade and all the rest. In 1957, the year before I graduated from the Soviet Union, got everyone's attention with Sputnik. Well, what Bill Bardeen's father had started was going to eclipse Sputnik as a force in the world. But there's been no change more dramatic than the change in medicine. And I know Uni High has sent an enormous number of people into the medical profession. In 1900, almost all Americans were born at home, died at home, and the most that medicine could do is make them feel more or less comfortable while nature healed them or killed them. In 1900, Americans spent twice as much money on funerals as they did on medicine. In 1900, 1 in 10 American children died in infancy. In 1900, only 17% of all deaths were of people over 65. Today, it's 75%. 1924, Calvin Coolidge, the last president with whom I fully agreed, living in the White House, his son played tennis without socks. He got a blister, it got infected, he died a lingering, agonizing death, because the president of the United States, with access to the best medicine in the world, could do nothing for him. 1941, when I was born in Mercy Hospital, I guarantee you, I don't know if this is true of almost all hospitals then, I'm sure that Mercy Hospital's principal expense was clean linen. This was before MRIs and CAT scans and electron microscopes and laser surgery and all the rest of the diagnostic, pharmacological, therapeutic arsenal that we are blessed to have and are having trouble paying for. 1965, when we passed Medicare, half the medical technologies now in use did not exist. In 1900, if we'd had national statistics, and we did not yet have them because Simon Kuznets had not come along to invent them, if we'd had them, medicine would have been too small a portion of our economy to notice. Today, it's 18% and growing. The American healthcare sector is larger than all but 4 nations' economies in the world. If I say to you, Pittsburgh, you think steel. They don't make any steel in Pittsburgh anymore. The largest employer in Pittsburgh is the University of Pittsburgh because of its medical center. If I say to you, Cleveland, you think archetypal Rust Belt manufacturing city, perhaps, but the largest employer in Pittsburgh is the Cleveland Clinic. Second largest employer in Cleveland is another healthcare provider. 6 of the 10 largest employers in Ohio are healthcare providers. I say to you, Houston, you think energy capital of the country, maybe, but much the largest employer in Houston is the Texas Hospital Center. This is the world that Uni High has helped to make, and the Uni High sends serious people into the world to serve. And it's very important because longevity is a wonderful social achievement, but it is going to bankrupt us because Americans are living longer than is convenient for the Office of Management and Budget. We should all remember Irene Triplett. Irene Triplett died a couple of years ago at age 90 in a nursing home in North Carolina. 2 years ago, she died at age 90. She was the last American to receive a Civil War pension. She was the child of a Civil War veteran. He was a man named Mose, who fought actually on both sides of the Civil War. He was very broad-minded. And at age 78 in 1928, he married Irene's mother at age 27. Way to go, Mose. Anyway, Irene was born in 1930, shortly before Mose's 84th birthday. It's a cautionary tale for welfare states that we make these promises to ourselves, all the pensions we're going to pay, and then people live unconscionably long. We've made these enormous promises to ourselves, and we desperately need a dynamic society, scientifically, commercially, intellectually dynamic, to throw off the revenues to pay the bills for the promises we've made. It's a problem in Washington because the first rule of economics is scarcity is real. There's not enough stuff to go around, choices have to be made. The first rule of politics in Washington is to ignore the first rule of economics, which both parties are very good at. But again, the velocity of life, helped by the kinds of people who make Uni High great, the velocity of American life is a source of difficulties at times, but also a source of inspiration. Amazon. In 1994, Amazon was an online bookseller in Seattle. Last year, Amazon's revenues were larger than the combined revenues of all restaurant chains, all grocery store chains, and all department stores in the United States. Things move fast in the United States. My mother in Champaign, Illinois, used to shop at the A&P. 1935, there were 15,000 A&P stores in the United States, one for every 9,000 Americans. Then along came something called Piggly Wiggly. And he says, we have 2 better ideas. A&P is all downtown. No one lives downtown anymore. They're all moving to the suburbs. Second, if you went into an A&P store and said, I want a can of pork and beans, they would reach up and get for you the can of pork and beans. Piggly Wiggly said, let people pick their own damn pork and beans up. And they had the self-service store, and A&P is long gone. Now, it's rather disruptive being an American because of this. Someone said that the story of the Bible reduced to one sentence is God created men and women and promptly lost control of events. Americans like that. We don't want a predictable future. That's why people say, forever say, oh, well, we've got these monopolies. Do you realize that in about 1972, the Justice Department of the United States was desperately worried about the monopoly that Kodak had in film? you remember film? 1976, the Justice Department's Antitrust Division was worried about IBM's monopoly on office typewriters. You may remember a typewriter. 1997, Yahoo was the dominant search engine in this country. Something else happened in 1997, something called Google was founded. In November 2007, the cover of Forbes magazine proclaimed in a headline, it said, "1 billion cell phone customers. Can anyone challenge the cell phone king?" The cell phone king was Nokia. 5 months earlier, something called an iPhone was invented by Apple. Well, this is the story of our country, and it is the story of dynamism. And it is dynamism that good schools like Uni High foster. It's an old medieval English couplet. All men are created equal. They differ only in the sequel. Uni High exists to create the sequel, to make people special. We live at a moment today when the idea of meritocracy is being attacked. Now, I wanted to go to Uni High to go be a sub-freshman because I wanted out of school as fast as possible. But that's not the point of Uni High. Uni High is a selective high school, and they are under attack all over the country. Lowell in San Francisco, Boston Latin in Boston, Bronx High School of Science in New York City, most famously the Thomas Jefferson High School of Science in Fairfax County, Virginia, which explicitly has just said, we are changing the selectivity because too many Asians are getting in. Well, this is a big argument we're going to have in this country for a long time. There's going to be a huge Supreme Court decision on this coming up next June. We're arguing about excellence. We're arguing about how committed are we to meritocracy. It turns out that in an information-saturated modern society, cognitive stratification is a fact. It is an unavoidable consequence, and it is really not to be deplored. And therefore, Uni High is not to be deplored for doing what it is doing, which is sending forth people competent to rise. People have special talents, and talents are not evenly distributed in the world, and when they are found, they should be cultivated, and Uni High exists to do that. Baseball, I'd say I can't go that long without talking about it. What's the score, by the way? That's all right. Sports is a pure meritocracy. The beauty of baseball is you play 162 games in 183 days. You can't say we're really better than our record. You are your record. Baseball is the most severe meritocracy, and sports generally is a meritocracy. And that's why Americans are addicted to sports, is because it represents something that the nation is addicted to, and that Uni High, although not famous for its athletics at all times, I think my year when I played basketball briefly and badly, I think we were 2-23, something like that. And we beat the same school twice, and it consolidated the next year out of embarrassment. But it is well as we celebrate 100 years of Uni High to understand that we're a big nation. We have big problems, big deal. Nothing new there. The fact is that because we are addicted to self-examination and aspiration, we are as a nation susceptible to social hypochondria. And I think it's worth pausing at this centennial moment to realize there's so much to celebrate and so many reasons to be confident. Let me give you a thought experiment. In September 1916, there was a surge in the value of Standard Oil stock, and John D. Rockefeller became America's first billionaire. And this is $1 billion in 1916 dollars, so it was serious money. Thought experiment is this. Suppose I said, I'll make you a deal. You can go back. I will make you as rich as John D. Rockefeller was in 1916, but you have to live in 1916. Would you take the deal? You could, oh my, you could have the best wristwatch ever made. It wouldn't keep time as well as the Timex you can buy at any CVX, but you could, it's rich. You could have houses all over the world, but they're a little hard to get to. You could go to all the best Chinese, Indian, Thai restaurants, but there weren't any, of course, because globalization, Mr. Norman McLean's container hadn't changed the world yet. Most of all, you're going to have to live without antibiotics, which I think is probably the greatest in terms of utilitarian benefit to the world, the greatest thing done in the 20th century. And don't even think about getting a toothache, because dentistry was not that nice in 1916. And by the way, in 1916, 1 in 10 Americans had a toothache. So how many of you are willing to make the deal? Not that many, I think. Because for all our caterwauling about our difficulties, it's a pretty good time to be alive. Now, what does that tell us about the future? Not much. Political and social prophecy is optional folly. So I, when it comes to predictions, subscribe to the Zeke-Benura principle. Zeke was a major league first baseman of spectacular immobility. But Zeke understood the first rule of baseball, which is you will not be charged with an error if you do not touch the ball. However, it seems to me just obvious that with small little platoons like Uni High, devoted to excellence, committed to nurturing talents that are not evenly distributed through society, but society reaps the benefits of the maturing of those talents, that there is every reason to believe that our current discontents and dystopian tendencies are going to stop. I'm very fond of a story of Mark Twain was staying in a hotel with his friend, the novelist William Dean Howell, and they decided to go out for a walk one morning. They stepped out on the veranda of the hotel and were annoyed to see that there was a downpour underway. And Howell said to Twain, "Do you think it will stop?" And Twain said, "You know, it always has." So I say be of good cheer and be loyal to Uni High, because Uni High represents something that Lincoln understood. 1859, with war clouds lowering over the country, he gave a talk at what was the equivalent of the Wisconsin State Fair. And in his talk, he spoke about the Oriental despot who summoned his wise men and gave them an assignment. He says, "Go away and don't come back until you have devised a proposition to be carved in stone, to be forever in view and forever true." Well, some while later, they came back, and the proposition they had was, "This too shall pass away." Lincoln said, "How chastening in times of pride, how consoling in times of grief, but perhaps it's not true." He said, if we Americans cultivate the intellectual world within us as assiduously as we cultivate the physical world around us, we shall long endure, as indeed we have, with institutions like Uni High leading the way. I can illustrate the same point, you will not be surprised to learn, with a baseball story. Rogers Hornsby, in the early 1920s, greatest right-handed hitter in the history of baseball, was at the plate, and there was a rookie pitcher on the mound who was understandably and reasonably petrified. And the rookie threw 3 pitches that he thought were on the edge of the plate, and the umpire said, "Ball 1, ball 2, ball 3. The rookie pitcher got flustered and he shouted in at the umpire, said, "Umpire, those were strikes." The umpire took off his mask, looked out at the rookie and said, "Young man, when you throw a strike, Mr. Hornsby will let you know." Hornsby had become the standard of excellence. If he didn't swing, it wasn't a strike. And Uni High is in the business, I think, of producing excellence to become the standard. That's why I think Uni High illustrates two of the great virtues. The first is gratitude. All of us in this room owe gratitude. And the second is pride. It seems to me the purpose of education is to learn how to praise, not to learn how to disparage. That's somehow taken to be a sign of intellectual sophistication, but to learn how to praise is to recognize excellence, to recognize standards and the matching of them, and to praise them. And tonight is a night of gratitude and a night of praise. And that is the end of my sermon. You're probably feeling the way, oh God, the way Jeff Torborg did when he managed the White Sox. He went out one day to take a pitcher out of the game, and he got to the mound. His pitcher named Jimmy Kern. And Kern said, "Skipper, I'm not tired." Torborg said, "You're not tired, but our outfielders are." So on that note, I shall subside, and I thank you for letting me be part of this great event. Thank you very much.
Okay, don't all go at the exact same time, but dinner is served out there. Okay, we are now only 5 further minutes behind schedule beyond what we were before. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's very good for uni. Yes. Welcome back. Please continue to enjoy your dinner as we continue with the program. And if you didn't enjoy your dinner, you should know that people are paying $2,000 for these tickets because they're sold out. I want to ask a question as we get on. How about a round of applause for me right now? So everyone can stop talking. Thank you. Yeah. That's how we got everyone to quiet down earlier, so I thought that would work. Let me ask you a question. How many of you tonight went to uni when Dwight D. Eisenhower was president? We know George Will did. What about John F. Kennedy? All right. What about LBJ? Nixon. Wow. Ford. Carter. Not very many. We got some Carters over here. Reagan. Roosevelt. I was going to ask at the end if we had any pre-Eisenhower. Roosevelt. Wow, fantastic. What about George H.W. Bush? Clinton. George W. Obama. Trump. Biden. Do we have any current uni students here? Yes, we do. Okay. Let's talk about money for a minute, because you don't get to 101 years old without a few $100 bills and a few $1 bills. So over the years, like many of you, I've been giving to uni. I have been happy to give to some special funds, including the Maryland UPA Bant Fund for Young Writers. Yes. I see Jeff is here. She was an amazing journalism teacher, an alumni director, a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, just a really wonderful person. And it means a lot to be able to donate to that fund. I've also contributed to the Barbara Lazarus Memorial Fund. Barbie's brother, Billy, is here somewhere. That family has been really important to me as well. Everyone went to uni in it, and Barbie was an amazing person and has a fund that helps young women grow in the STEM fields. But there are so many important funds you can contribute to, including, of course, the famous Wild Q Chicken Fund, established by the class of 1972, which recognizes one or more uni high students who exhibit spontaneous creativity. Megan Flynn, class of 95, is recognized through 2 funds established by her family, supporting faculty and students. The Uni High class of 1962 Memorial Endowment Fund, supporting student diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives at uni. Century Scholar Faculty Salary Enhancement. These are gifts made to the Century Scholar Fund by first-time donors. The first-time donor gifts will be matched, doubling your impact, by Catherine Grushow. Very generous gift from the class of 94, up to $30,000. The class of 84 Leo Millar Fund, remembering Leo by supporting students and faculty and staff. The Myers Talbot Memorial Fund. And the class of 1973 have a goal to reach $50,000 this weekend to support students and faculty at uni, enhance excellence of teaching and instruction at uni, counselor fees, as well as support for students in need of, or for technology-related fees, college prep exams, sports fees, and tutoring. Now, overall, there was a big goal for the Century Celebration, and correct me if I get these numbers wrong, Janet, but first, 10 million. Got that. That was with Illinois. Yeah, got that. 14 million, new goal. The goal was 10, we made over 14 million. Thank you. 4 million just for this weekend, right? And we're 120,000 away from that 4 million, which is amazing. We have until the end of the year. The thing about giving is that obviously it's great for uni, but it also feels great to give to this amazing institution. So we want to meet somebody now who has made so many contributions to uni. Marika Trent Baraka, class of 1989, is a naturalized Champaign townie and mom of a 2-generation uni family. As a uni parent, she served on boards of uni's PFO and athletic boosters organizations, among other community involvement. She is currently director of enterprise content for Singularity Education Group, a Silicon Valley-based executive learning firm with a mission to drive positive impact. Please welcome Marika Trent Baraka.
Hello. So it's always wild when you see people in different contexts, especially, people who you have known in different contexts as a student, as an alum, as a parent, and your kids' friends as well. So as Jeremy said, as your program says, I was asked to say a few words about why I give. And apparently they were looking for both a parent and an alum to speak to this, and conveniently I checked multiple boxes. So that may or may not make this a little more efficient. We shall see. But my why, as for why I give to uni, is because, I've had a great experience as part of the uni community for over 33 years now. As a student, uni gave me a place to kind of just be me, as quirky or nerdy as that may be. I was that awkward Black girl before Issa Rae, I think, had learned her ABCs. It was also gave me some of the best and not at all snarky lifelong friends that I could ask for. So both as a student and again, years later, as a parent, because I have some great parent friends in here too. Feel free to own that. So, all right. Uni also gave me an excellent education, excellent foundation for learning. Again, many of the things that you've already heard mentioned tonight, uni is a special place. Uni is a very special place. And that is ultimately why I give. And then years later, uni also gave my children that same experience. I have a class of 2014 alum. I have a class of 2016 alum, and I have a class of 2023 asterisk on the website who ended up following a passion for theater to Chicago. So all of that to say that, as much as I enjoyed my time at uni, I also took a lot of it for granted, right? We graduate, we want to go as far as we can, as fast as we can. And I did not initially give to uni. And it wasn't, and then you start coming from reunions, and then I became a giver of convenience, right? You come to a reunion, you get that annual letter and you make a donation if it catches you at the right time, right? But then as a uni parent, that is when I really had the opportunity to see that wonderful uni experience that many of us have had does not happen accidentally and does not happen without a lot of dedication, a lot of effort, and a lot of resources. And so, so that was something, especially teacher, I think Jeremy mentioned, and several have mentioned our wonderful faculty. I have stayed in Champaign largely since 83. And it wasn't till, I was 1 year lamenting my own champagne salary relative to my friends living their best lives in Chicago and New York and DC. And then I was stunned to learn that as much as I was lamenting my income, I still out-earned some of those same fabulous teachers who taught me and then later also taught my children. And I have been a regular giver ever since. Actually, I've been an annual giver ever since, because those teachers, many of whom have been recognized. We gave an ovation earlier. When my oldest entered, I think 7 of my teachers were still here. Murph is still here. And I wouldn't be the person I am today. My kids, none of them would be the people that they are today without uni, without these teachers, without this experience and community that has supported us through a lot of different life experiences. So I give because of that experience. I give because I think uni is an asset to the community, even though there are sometimes sensitive dynamics with the public schools. I think uni and the CU schools and community have a lot that they can learn from each other. If you were at the State of the Union earlier, you had a chance to hear talk about some of the different kinds of collaborations and outreach that uni is doing. And so obviously we all always do better, right, when we can have that kind of engagement. And then again, I give just because the school needs it, right? No one's surprised to know that, public education is woefully underfunded, and uni, despite its selective admission status, is still that public school. And despite, again, the wonderful support of everybody here, the university, et cetera, they still need more. We don't get the tax base. There's other sorts of things that uni does not benefit from that a regular, quote unquote, or zoned public school district would. So, so all that we can do in giving to help reward and recognize the dedication and commitment that uni's fabulous faculty and staff do, all of the other initiatives that uni is trying to pursue, and to help just encourage it, to pay it forward, to encourage it to continue going for another 100, 200, however many years, and to just to make uni just an even better institution for the community, for the world. And so last thing I will say is that also when I came out, it was kind of harder to give. It wasn't harder to give, but I had to write a check or send it in. Now it's really easy to give because you can just go online and set up your paycheck deduction or whatever and forget about it. And that's what I do. I set it and forget it. And you can, they say go big or go home. I was not in a position to go big or go home, but I started where it was good for me. And so whether that is $1, $5, $50, as a parent, it was definitely also very clear that when uni is looking to get support for some of these different initiatives, seeing while the big gifts are fabulous, seeing widespread giving speaks a lot. And so uni's always wanted, we are always, whatever is good for you. I'm not saying that you have to give, but if you were so inclined, giving at whatever level is good for you would be money very well directed, and would be, and again, would go to a good cause. So that is a bit of why I give. And I would like to thank all of those of you here and out there on the interwebs as well that have been part of my community and family. And I look forward to spending many more years with you. So, all right, to the next 100. Thank you.
With an extensive amount of history and pledge drives, I must say we should have the website. What is it to give right now? You're supposed to give the website at the end always of every pitch break on public radio. uni.illinois.edu/support uni 100. Okay, there you go. The Max Biberman Distinguished Alumni Award was established by Uni High in honor of the late Max Biberman, whose distinguished career as a math educator brought him international renown. During his tenure at Uni High from 1950 to 1971, he founded and developed the University Committee on School Mathematics, which significantly altered the teaching of mathematics around the world. Max is remembered as being a truly wonderful teacher whose forte was enabling students to discover for themselves the new math ideas for which he is famous. Max died suddenly in 1971 during a sabbatic leave in England, but his legacy lives on. And each year the school calls for nominations of alumni who exemplify the kind of distinction Max Biberman brought to uni. Two of Max's children are here tonight to give out this year's awards. So please welcome John Biberman and Mary Biberman-Hein.
Hello, I'm Mary Biberman-Hein, and it's my pleasure to introduce the 2021 Max Biberman Distinguished Alumni Award winner to David Frankel. David skipped the second grade and was a member of my class, the fabulous uni class of 1976. Woohoo! Just two of us from that class are here tonight. He enrolled into the U of I his senior year of uni, taking his first semester of classes while at uni, and graduated from the U of I 3 years later with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering a week after turning 20. If that weren't enough accomplishment, in his spare time, he also received his pilot's license from the U of I Institute of Aviation. His uni-high experience wasn't the typical one. By the age of 12, he discovered what was known as computer-based education. And he followed that deep interest by convincing Dr. Bitzer to let him work at Plato, a computer-based research lab across the street from uni when he wasn't in class. So at 7 a.m. every morning, young Dave arrived at Plato and stayed until his first uni class of the day. At lunch and after school, he returned to Plato and took the MTD Red Line bus home in time for dinner. It would have been an exhausting day for any young boy, but by the time he was 14, he finally was old enough to receive an hourly pay rate of $2.31, while the rest of us mere mortals were playing Foursquare or goofing off in the lounge. As an interesting aside, sometimes Plato would call uni to ask if perhaps Dave could be excused from class because there was a problem at Plato and only David could fix it. We saw Dave not as a full-time classmate, but more of an exchange student from Plato in the U of I. Dave was fortunate to find his lifelong vocation early and have the opportunity to be immersed in the developing technology at an impressionable young age. As a young adult, his work was in high-performance computer and networking technology. He founded Jetstream Communications in 1994, which supplied voice-over packet technology to telecommunications carriers. By 2007, Dave founded ZipDX, a provider of specialty communication services. The ZipDX telemeeting platform solves problems that cannot be addressed by conventional solutions, such as high-value situations that involve research, training, sensitive conversations, and decision makers speaking in different languages. Now, I don't know what the hell any of this means, but I think it's important. Since 2012, Dave's focus has shifted in a way that should give us all great hope, finding ways to eliminate illegal robocalls at their source. The initial entrance into the telephone network. He addressed the Senate subcommittee in 2019, admitting to me that it was the first time he wore an actual suit and tie. If Dave is successful with stopping robocalls, there must be a Nobel Peace Prize in his future. And to think that he went to Uni High with us. When asked what the most influential tool he was provided at uni, Dave responds that it was Plato and the time that he spent there. On a personal note, my father, Max Bieberman, and his colleagues at the Math Project were enthused by Plato and its potential for developing computer-based math instructions whereby students could work at their own pace. One of the biggest challenges at that time for what was called the new math was the need to train primary and secondary teachers to properly instruct this new curriculum. Plato was a new and different and promising approach. Inspired by his experience, Dave founded the David P. Frankel Learning Innovation Fund in 2017 and provided an extremely generous initial donation. This initiative continues to thrive today with Dave's support and help from charitable alumni and friends of Uni. After all, Dave told me Uni High is a laboratory school, so why not let those Uni High students who are interested get a head start with these summer programs? I could go on and on about Dave Frankel. It's obvious that he's extremely talented, very humble, and unquestionably brilliant. But he has a special talent that only his Uni High classmates know. Now, Dave, I'm sorry that I have to tell the story, but we're all family, so it's okay. But at class parties, he would amaze us with his double jointed elbows, which he could pop and have come out the other side, and we would all shriek and scream in horror. I don't know why he neglected to mention that in his bio, but he definitely knew how to start a party. So the winner of 2021 Max Bieberman Distinguished Alumni Award goes to the remarkable and double-jointed Dave Frankel.
Well, thanks very much for that lovely introduction. Box is down, so I can't read my prepared speech. But I just want to take this opportunity to really just say some thanks. You can tell, I hope, from Mary's introduction and from my demeanor that I just love what I do. I love being with the people I'm with. I have a fantastic family and support network, and so much of that sort of came to be in my youth and when I was at uni and discovering myself. And we've heard some other people talk about how important that is for uni, to just let people be who they are, discover who they are. And that's what I was able to do. And it's kept me happy for the subsequent 50 years, 45 years, something like that. I do want to thank the Bieberman family specifically, and for this award, of course. But I also just think, again, this exemplifies what's going on as far as I'm concerned in terms of what was important, hopefully remains important at uni. Keyword, Mary mentioned it, it's a laboratory school doing experiments. And who better to do experiments on than innocent kids? So I was a victim and I was a beneficiary, obviously. And I was so fascinated to work at the Computer-Based Education Research Lab. Don Bitzer, Professor Bitzer, was the head of that. I had the opportunity to chat with him. He's actually getting an award tonight in Silicon Valley, and he's such a wonderful person. I chatted with him earlier this week, and I mentioned that while he was getting his award, I was going to be getting my award. And he said, "Oh, Max, I remember Max. We worked together. We were in the College of Education, and they were both doing experiments, these grand experiments, how to teach using computers, how to teach math in new and innovative ways." And obviously, we need those kinds of people to keep making the world a better place. And I think that having this notion of innovating and doing experiments and being willing to fail, that's a huge thing for me. If you weren't allowed to fail, I would not be here because I've had so many. In fact, you know that my robocall efforts so far are failures because we're all still getting them. But stay tuned. Maybe there will be a breakthrough in the future. But I think that is, I'm so thankful that the school exists, that Max Bieberman was there, that Don Bitzer was there. And as I say, that I could be a beneficiary of that. I want to thank the teachers, my teachers, of course, when I was at uni, even teachers that at the time I thought were sort of nominal, Mrs. Tibbetts, trying to teach me English, rhetoric. And yet today, you know, the fact that I can actually explain things to people, that I can talk coherently, maybe not this evening, but when I go and talk to, you know, the regulators that I work with, the other industry people I work with, the senators that I've had the opportunity to see, being able to structure thoughts coherently and present them and have people understand things that might not otherwise be understandable to them because I'm able to break things down. These are all things that, you know, I learned in high school. So I thank those teachers of mine at that time that I don't know that I appreciated as much as I should have. And then I want to thank the teachers today that are working with our innovation fund and helping to leverage what I found to be so powerful in my life, which was this huge university here. That's, again, in my case, right across the street from this high school. What a fantastic situation to be in, that I could go across the street, back and forth, lunchtime, whatever, and experience this. And so whether it's the geometry lab in Altgeld Hall, the NCSA supercomputing facility, whatever it is, to be 12 and 13 and 15 years old and have access to that and discover whether this is something that is interesting to you and might be part of your future, or to discover that it's not. I think that that's tremendously powerful. And so rather than a school that channels everybody the same way, one that lets people find themselves, lets people that have the potential to excel, I think that's just fantastic. And to give people academically the same opportunities that some notable schools give in athletics, I'm just, you know, let's do it in academics as well and make sure that really can thrive. So I guess I'll leave it there. Thank you so much to the group for being here tonight and everybody else that's helping UNI to thrive. And I look forward to another 100 years of innovation. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. As many of you know, I'm part of a large family, had 8 brothers and sisters, and then myself. That was a joy, but being here tonight and talking with more than a few of you, it strikes me that we've got a terrific UNI family, and it's really a warm feeling to be part of it. So thank you. Kimberly Clausing, class of 1987, is the winner of the Max Bieberman Distinguished Alumni Award for 2022. This tradition of honoring UNI graduates for their significant career accomplishments began in 1985. Ms. Clausing earned a BA degree in economics at Carleton College and MA and PhD degrees at Harvard University. She taught at Reed College for 24 years, Wellesley College for 2 years, and is presently at the UCLA School of Law, holding the Eric M. Zolt Chair for Tax Law and Policy. During the first part of the Biden administration, she was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Tax Analysis in the U.S. Department of the Treasury, serving as lead economist in the Office of Tax Policy. She has testified before the House Ways and Means Committee, the Senate Committee on Finance, and the Joint Economic Committee. Professor Clausing is most known for her studies in tax avoidance by way of offshoring profits to tax haven countries by multinational companies and thinking through the policy responses to the problem. This includes suggesting policy reforms that were adopted by the Biden campaign. This helped lay the intellectual foundation for an international tax agreement that was concluded in 2021, whereby more than 135 countries agreed to a minimum tax on corporate profits of 15%. US lawmakers, unfortunately, did not approve in the recent Inflation Reduction Act the key points of the agreement, but there are provisions that provide strong incentives for countries that are party to the agreement to eventually follow through. Professor Clausing authored the recently published book, Open: The Progressive Case for Free Trade, Immigration, and Global Capital, which provides interesting reading for those who follow these matters. I appreciated the ample use of convincing data and graphs that were easily understood and supported her arguments. It brought to mind the appreciative words of a young Appalachian student to a stimulating lecturer. She put the fodder where the calves could get it. So I present Kimberly Clausing. Unfortunately, she's unable to attend in person, but we have a short video that she prepared.
Thanks to John for presenting and to Janet for putting up with my repetitive recommendation that they give the award to someone else. And a big thank you to everybody at Uni High for just being who you are. Uni High is such a special place, and it was really formative to who I am as a person. I was a member of the truly amazing class of 1987, and I think often of the many ways that we supported each other during our 5 years together, from the weekly class parties sub a year to struggling with math tests and history essays and cheering each other on and helping each other out through the inevitable victories and defeats of young life. One thing that I've really noticed in the years since Uni High is that it is impossible to really explain the place to people who've not been there, who can't really understand that high school can be intellectually stimulating and a lot of fun. We are so thankful for the teachers and their devotion and all they did to create the culture at Uni, that magical combination of intellectual curiosity and Midwestern work ethic that makes Uni High such a truly special place. My brilliant class of 1987 has so many people that also deserve this award, and I accept it with humility and with respect for all that all of my peers have achieved and the lives they have lived in the 35 years since we were together in Urbana. I'm very sorry that I can't be there in person to toast you all. Do have a wonderful time, and congratulations to Uni as it marks a century.
Just think that 100 years from now, a uni student will invent audio and video that play at the same time. We have one more thing, but before we do that, let me just say, let's give a round of applause to Janet and Megan and the advancement team that put this amazing event on. I am now so happy to introduce my classmate, my great friend, and the president of the Uni High Alumni Association, Dr. Philippa Soskin.
First, we have a little bit of a brief presentation by some of my fellow directors on the Uni High Alumni Association.
Good evening and welcome to Uni High Trivia, where the school that loves learning finds out how much you love learning about the school. I'm your host, Adam Tirarine, class of 2009. After this weekend, better known as Lily's older brother. Tonight's contestants: a labor and delivery nurse who's already giving birth to the next generation of helping other people give birth to the next generation of uni graduates. From the class of 2014, Elizabeth Larson. A data analytics expert who's giving birth to no one, and his next project aims to establish analytically the correlation between height and IQ. From the class of 2000, Phil Rowell. And voted best dressed in his graduating class and at tonight's gala, from the class of 2000, Mark Alexander. Three contestants, 6 questions, 1 fateful uni trivia. Our first question: when George Will referred to the picture from 1941, what? I'm just kidding. In 1981, James Tobin, class of 1935, became the third and most recent uni alumnus to win a Nobel Prize. In what field was Tobin's Nobel? Mark.
Gargoyleology.
Incorrect.
What is gargoyleology?
Not does that, we don't need that, that's fine.
What, with a little help from the audience, is economics?
Correct. Economics. Known for his Tobin tax, a small fee on financial transactions to prevent speculation. Next question. Construction on the Uni High building began in 1917 and ended in 1918. But the building wasn't originally a school. What was the uni building's original use? Mark.
Filming for the Hunchback Notre Dame.
Incorrect.
Come on, it was a hospital, man.
Correct, it was a hospital. For people returning from World War I. Between February 18th, 1974 and November 27th, 1979, uni set the national record for a high school basketball losing streak. To the nearest 10, how many games was this losing streak? Mark.
Trick question, still going on.
What is the year of my birth? 1995?
No.
96
Oh.
game losing streak.
96 game losing streak. That's because a 96 is an A grade, everyone. Next question. What song was the finale for most 1980s uni dances?
This time.
Mark?
Team Pope Overture.
No.
Stairway to Heaven, baby.
That is correct. The Led Zeppelin song from a decade earlier, in 1971. Next question. A well-known prank at uni involved the placement of a signed football celebrating uni's crushing, but fake, defeat over what local high school?
Ohio State.
Incorrect.
The Ohio State.
Incorrect.
Urbana High School?
Urbana High School, that's correct. Which brings us to our final question of uni trivia. The Uni High Alumni Association was established in 2015 to give alumni a voice, connect with each other, and connect with the school. How much does it cost to join the Uni High Alumni Association? Mark.
Rudy.
That's correct.
Oh!
Thanks for being a part of Uni High Trivia. Welcome back, Philippa Soskin.
All right. So show of hands, how many of you were involved in Big Show? All right, so hopefully that brought back some good memories. I was honored to be a co-director of Big Show my senior year. My co-director became an award-winning producer, Helen Esbrook. I became a doctor, but that's the great thing about uni, right? You can do anything. You can be part of so many things you wouldn't get to otherwise, whether that's sports. I lettered in swimming. I don't think I ever actually won a swim race ever, but I lettered in swimming. You can do music, you can do theater, and that's one of the special things about uni. But the thing that really stays with me the most is my long-lasting friendships with my fellow alumni from my class of 1999. Yeah. Thank you. And the relationships I've made over the years with my teachers, with fellow alumni, with the board of the Uni Alumni Association. And this is a pretty unique bond, I think, because I don't know about you, but when I tell my friends that I'm coming to my reunion or I'm meeting up with high school friends or I'm coming to my century celebration, I usually get some form of blank stares, shocked faces, or some sort of, you stay in touch with people from your high school? So I get that a lot. And I say, yes, I do stay in touch with people from my high school. And not only that, but I count them amongst my dearest friends. And I hope that that resonates with a lot of you this weekend. I hope that you will continue to explore and strengthen these relationships with your fellow alumni and with uni. And if you haven't already, I hope you will help us do that by joining the Uni High Alumni Association. As we learned here today, it's free to join. You just go to unialumni.org. We have signups outside as well and Uni Alumni Association pins for members. And really our goal is to support uni and to support these relationships with fellow alumni. We've been holding virtual forums online to hear from speakers in the many of areas of expertise that we have. And we're getting back to more in-person events. We had a great event in DC this past spring, and we're gonna get together with the Uni and the U of I in April this coming spring. So we hope that you will join and continue these relationships with uni for its years to come. So now I'd like to transition to another honor I have, which is to introduce the class of the century, which you may have heard of because hopefully many of you nominated some people for this honor. But through this great event, we wanted to honor and recognize the achievements of our incredible uni alumni. We know that this list could be expanded several times over with amazing contributions and achievements from all our alumni. But to celebrate uni's 100th year, we strove to select 100 notable alumni with nominations from you as our class of the century. And we took your nominations, and the committee comprised of the directors from the Uni High Alumni Association in collaboration with our advancement team worked to go through these nominations and to select the class of the century within the following categories: arts, athletics, activism and philanthropy, education, global alumni, law and public service, media, science, technology and engineering, Uni High faculty, and women pioneers. So we have, you're going to start to see these scrolling behind me now, but you can also go to the Uni High website, which will be live tomorrow with the class of the century, which we are unveiling tonight. And a special thank you to Joel Beasley and the WWW class for their work in putting all this content together and presenting it in such a way that we can all learn about these amazing alumni. So let's give it a hand to them and to the class of the century. Thank you, everyone.
We need some music. Yeah. Rick, get up here and sing a song. Well, as we continue to watch this, which is actually really cool, I don't want to look away. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. This has been such an amazing event. And continue to enjoy the company of all of your fellow uni alums, and thank you so much.